Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Patty Rousey with MBWA and I am excited to get us kicked off today. MBWA's webinar today is centered on the challenges of driver shortages and delivery demands. Thank you to Descartes for their sponsorship of today's webinar and partnership with MBWA. We are very appreciative of their support. As with all of our MBWA events, this roundtable is designed for and open to any distributor employee. Before we kick off, I want to highlight a couple of upcoming MBWA events. First, the convention. Convention and Trade Show, October 12th through 15th in Las Vegas. Hopefully you all have that marked on your calendars. We have an exciting lineup of speakers, which includes Robert Herjavec from Shark Tank, Evie Pomporis is a former FBI Secret Service agent. We have Jim Sabia from Constellation and Katie Smith from Walmart. So hopefully you'll be there to see all of that. The trade show has over 250 exhibiting companies full of new products and new services to help you in your business. And then new this year is the Innovation Showcase, which is on Sunday afternoon. It kicks off at 11:30. There are 17 companies that are participating, and they're there to share all of their technology updates. Then the second event is the Making Moves event, which begins at the conclusion of the annual convention on Tuesday at 4:30. This year's theme is Building a Winning Hand. We have a great lineup of speakers, which you see on the screen, who will help you meet the industry challenges of today while developing skills to help you in the future. So some ground rules for today. Ask questions and engage. For Q&A, please type your questions in the chat box and the panel will answer at the end of their presentation. In addition to the Descartes team, we have distributors joining us today to share how they are solving day-to-day challenges. Now I'm going to hand it off to Cindy Brandt, who is going to get this discussion started.
Well, thank you so much, Patty. I appreciate it. My name is Cindy Brandt. I spent 25 years in last mile technologies. At Descartes, I'm the last mile evangelist as well as the VP of Fleet Solutions. I am super honored today to be joined by three amazing distributors as well as Nick Ryder from our team. So let's go ahead and do some quick introductions. Matt Fannin, he's from Silver Eagle Distributors. Matt is the director of routing at Single Eagle Distributors, one of the nation's largest Anheuser-Busch distributors, serving the greater Houston and San Antonio areas. With a background in operations leadership at UPS, Matt now leads a team of route engineers and coordinators at Silver Eagle. Since joining in 2022, he's focused on transforming routing operations through data, technology, and analytics. Second on the panel, we have Will Woodall from Mitchell Distributing. Will is a sales execution coordinator, and Mitchell Distributing is a leading beverage distributor based in Mississippi with operations that span multiple states. Since joining in 2016, Will has been central in modernizing Mitchell's delivery and sales operations. He's been leading the reroute initiatives and supporting technology rollouts across the network. Today, he brings a unique perspective from working at the intersection of operations and sales. Third, we've got John Barton from Pepin Distributing Company. John is the retail service manager at Pepin Distributing Company, the longtime Anheuser-Busch distributor serving the Tampa Bay area. With more than 30 years in the beverage industry, John's built a career on turning around underperforming accounts, driving territory sales, and strengthening retail partnerships. He works across delivery, sales, and service to ensure consistent execution and laser customer focus. Lastly, we have Nick Ryder from Descartes. Nick is a senior account executive at Descartes when we are a global leader in routing, mobile, and telematics. Nick specializes in helping beverage distributors improve fleet efficiency and last mile distribution performance. With over 15 years in logistics and transportation, he's worked closely with many distributors nationwide to simplify operations, cut costs, and improve service. So thank you again for having us all today. We really appreciate it. So let's talk quickly about a little bit about Descartes. At Descartes, we're really about moving the world. And we literally mean that. We're a global leader in logistics technology that is helping over 29,000 customers worldwide get things from point A to point B in a smarter, faster, more efficient way. Whether it's raw material handling to the factory or finished products landing at your door, our technology is behind the scenes making it all happen. At the very heart of it, we have over 2,600 logistics pros who love solving tough problems, working side by side with our customers. As a company, we've had over 20 straight years of record performance as we reinvest about 15% into research and development every year to keep innovation flowing. Our particular pillar, Fleet Solutions, is the delivery management platform that empowers distributors to optimize routes, streamline dispatch, and execute daily operations with precision and confidence. We do that all while fostering real-time driver and customer engagement and capturing valuable feedback to fuel continuous improvement. This improvement is powered by AI and delivers transparent and reliable experiences. Every route, every driver, every deliver, optimized, connected, and built to exceed customer expectations. So let's jump in a little bit about our topic today. Beverage operations are extremely challenging. I think some might even say it's chaotic at times, to be really honest. The difficulty really comes in when we think about all the different conflicting objectives, siloed systems, complex retailer demands, variable demand, and resource constraints. Without shared data and integrated planning, each function optimizes for itself really rather than the distributor's overall performance. We're here today to show you that it can be united. And when it works all together, we call that delivery orchestration. Our panelists today are leaders in finding that orchestration sweet spot. So let's think about some of the challenges that we see every single day. These are particularly coming from our panelists. I always say there's lots of challenges brewing, but here's the key ones that we'll be talking a little bit about today. And again, these come directly from the distributors that we're working with today. The first is around visibility. Sometimes there just isn't enough visibility to the operations in the field, whether we're talking about delivery, merchandisers, or even the sales team. Second, a lot of us continue to use some outdated routing practices. And what happens is that over time, these routing practices are really inefficient and actually hinder productivity instead of accelerate it. Third, balancing workloads is increasingly difficult to do across teams. Why? Our businesses continue to change every single year. Third, labor costs continue to change. Plus, these labor costs really contribute to driver retention. It's just one of the issues that really allow us to understand what's happening and how to promote retention. Customer service demands continue to change. We know that our customers in every single facet of the world are demanding more of us. And within beer distribution, it's become even more demanding as our environment changes every single day. And last but not least, there's that constant fine balance between delivery, sales, and merchandising. It needs constant care and feeding in order to figure out how do we do it the best way, that's the most efficient way, and the least cost manner. I want everyone to know, though, there's great news ahead. Distributors like my friends on the panel today are conquering these challenges and have had some really great results. As they implement real-time tracking and collecting data, they're able to make much smarter decisions day over day. When they use this data in reroutes, they're able to do it more often to create better routes and create routes that actually marry together sales, delivery, and merchandisers. They're increasing retention by balancing workloads, whether we're talking about those drivers, merchandisers, or even sales reps. And lastly, they're really exceeding customer expectations by using data to drive and fine tune their service. The companies here today have really leaned into this concept of delivery orchestration. Let's walk through quickly how they kind of see all this information coming to light. One, they're making sure that sales is in sync with deliveries and merchandisers based on real data, real execution data, that is. Second, they're making sure that they're optimizing those routes, both from a strategic as well as a daily perspective. They're making sure those routes are loaded optimally and they're getting to the warehouse in a timely fashion. They're also making sure that their drivers get micro training before starting the route and ensuring 100% compliance to those safety trainings. Next, they're making sure that we're taking paper out of the cab. They're digitizing the driver's day, and they're making sure deliveries happen in the right manner by following workflows, as well as also managing the chain of custody or proof of delivery. They're making sure that their merchandisers remain productive and don't wait in the parking lot for the delivery to happen, because they're tied into that delivery and they're eliminating a lot of that wasted time. And lastly, they're making that end of day settlement much easier by understanding what returnables are coming back or what product wasn't delivered. So there is truly a way forward. And there's a way to make all these complex actions orchestrated to maximize efficiency and productivity while reducing costs and making sure that your employees are happy. So should we jump in now to see how Pepin, Mitchell, and Silver Eagle are conquering these delivery challenges? So let's go ahead and dive in and bring our panel into this. First and foremost, Matt, if it's okay if I call on you first and you unmute. With Silver Eagle's size, planning can eat up an enormous amount of time. What challenges have you made that not only reduced planning hours, but also gave drivers more realistic routes they could trust?
Yeah, so we've made several operational changes since I've been here over the last 3 years. I think the biggest change we've made is moving off of the legacy tool that we had when I first got here. We've been using it for probably 20 years. And now we have a more modern, more automated optimization process that our routers can use. So instead of building manual routes every morning, they're more focused on curating rules, managing exceptions, instead of that hand building of routes. So it's reduced their workload. We still have a standard route sets for the tool to work off of. So drivers still get the consistency they want, and we plan with real stop time data, real service time windows, and because those planned hours now match what the drivers actually run, the drivers trust the plan.
Well, that's great to hear, because that's a real challenge in the industry, is getting drivers to trust the plan, number one, but also making sure that you're freeing people up to do other things that are much more beneficial to the company. So Will, if I could call on you now, we know that you've led multiple reroute projects. How did you involve sales and operations in the process, and what impact did faster planning have on your ability to respond to market changes or customer demands?
Yeah. So again, everybody can probably remember the old times of getting your sales and your operations teams in a room together for hours and possibly days to try and sort out what needed to be done. And over time, by getting all the data that we're able to access now, we've gotten to the point and the ability for the people to trust it, that now I literally can get a phone call from somebody saying, "Hey, I want to take a look at doing this." They hand it off to me, and within a day I can hand it back to them. They're not having to sit there for hours on end trying to sort it out with me, and they just trust the process at this point for it.
That's great to hear, because I think trusting the process is one of the hardest things to get the entire team to really jump in and do. So John, you have a retail service view here. So from that standpoint, when planning improves, what difference does it really make for account execution and customer satisfaction?
Hey, good afternoon. Planning is everything to us. We've got on a daily basis about 60 routes that go out, over 600 deliveries, probably around 50,000 cases. So you can imagine if you didn't have a good routing plan and you didn't have everything set for that day, the chaos that would ensure. So for us, the biggest thing is knowing what we're doing ahead of time and having everything sequenced and having the merchandisers in place when the delivery gets there, and just having a solid daily plan of how we're going to execute. Because the last thing you want is for customers to be waiting for their deliveries, merchandisers to not know where they're going. And the last thing you also want is beer to go out. We're a distributor, it goes out, it doesn't come back. So planning for us is everything, it's paramount. And, I get to sleep at night knowing that the next day everything's good to go and we're ready to hit the trade.
That's fantastic. I love how you really talked about that orchestration there. The second set of questions, I really want to focus on the concept of reducing miles and improving route efficiency. So, John, if it's okay if I go back to you, fewer miles should mean lower costs. But what customer-facing benefits have you seen when your team spend less time driving and more time at accounts?
Yeah, I mean, as a distributor, it's all about efficiencies. And when you're driving around and you're bouncing from account to account, and kind of like you said earlier, if you're waiting for accounts to open or the delivery's not there, it's the worst thing that can happen for you because you only have a certain amount of hours in a day, and you want to make sure things are getting done at the right times. So for us, having a plan of knowing when the accounts are open, knowing the dock times, sequencing things correctly, it's called service time. And for us, you really want to have your people in the accounts doing what it is they do every day versus bouncing around and not having a good plan. So the accounts love the fact that we already know what time we're going to be there. They love the fact that we've already communicated to everyone exactly how things are going to work. So service time to us is everything. Driving time, it's not efficient. Like you said, it eats up hours in the day, and that's not how we want to operate.
Yeah. So you talked a lot about planning. I want to go back to Nick here, and Nick, John has talked about planning a couple of times, as did Will and Matt. When you look out across the entire industry, what separates other distributors when they're looking at that planning concept and planning time, and how does it really improve service for customers?
Yeah, Cindy, thanks for the question. So what I typically see is that, a lot of distributors will tell me that they can plan really quickly these routes. But at the same time, you can really plan routes quickly and build really bad routes. So I think, what I start to notice here is, through automation and trusting your data, that you are able to build routes faster, and then you're also able to build them for success for your customers as well. Because we all understand in the beverage world that no day is perfect. So you may have sales that comes in on a last minute order, things like that. So if you're building great route plans through automation and you can get them done quickly and trusted by the network, then those exceptions or those, what if moments that do occur, now you have the time to actually react to it, and you're not putting pressure on the warehouse, because that's usually what happens when you start to see that you're starting to run behind or you build a bad plan. Now you're putting pressure on that next part of the business, which you don't want to do.
Well, that's really insightful there, because that feeds right back into what John was saying, is that better planning routes. If you build the right route, you're going to create that synergy and orchestration. So Matt, jumping back to you for a minute here, how do you balance cutting miles with the reality that drivers and customers still expect flexibility, and you might even say greater flexibility in this day and age? Where's your trade-off in all this?
Yeah, so I mean, it goes back to having the good data, right? So we optimize our routes every day based off of the time windows that we have and the service times at those accounts. So I mean, that gives a level of consistency to drivers and a kind of a base to hold mileage gains. But there's still, say we probably lock 80% of our routes, and then there's still a 20% cushion built in there for flexibility, right? So whether that's special customer requests, maybe some driver knowledge that we don't have that data just yet. gives the driver the flexibility to make a move, or gives us the flexibility to, prioritize a certain customer. And I think most distributors, if not all distributors, are going to be customer first. So we, at the end of the day, we'll sacrifice a couple of miles for, quality customer service.
Absolutely. But flexibility, key there, right there. And then Will, I mean, in the Wayback Time Machine, I remember there weren't a lot of SKUs out there. And now there's just absolute SKU proliferation, right? And more SKUs continue to be added. Plus deliveries take longer as a result of all those different SKUs, package sizes, package types, etc. What approaches are helping manage delivery times while also meeting incredibly high customer expectations?
Thanks, Cindy. One of the big things that we've been able to do was, one, now we were able to actually establish a baseline where prior we were kind of just floating in the dark of how long was it actually taking us. And then now we can compare that to, say, if a customer's now added 10 additional SKUs, whether that's all non-alcoholics or primarily beer, we can see how much does that affect the time of what we originally had. So then we can even extrapolate that out for other customers. And we're also able to see this live. So if we start seeing that somebody is trending very far back because of this additional product, then we can actually send them help so that we can try and get them back on track. But then even more so, now we've actually got a plan to react to for the next time.
So what I just heard is data to let you make better decisions, right? And the more accurate the data, the more important it becomes. Then let's open this up to everybody, this next question. When you succeed in cutting miles, what's the single biggest impact, positive or negative, to the customer experience?
I mean, I'll jump in. When kind of like we talked about earlier, when you're actually in the accounts and you're servicing the accounts and you're, after a busy weekend, the accounts, they want to see you quickly. They want to see you on time. They want to fill those shelves back up, fill up the displays. And when you're able to get those drivers and those merchandisers in there quickly, and they're not sitting in traffic or not having things routed correctly, it's paramount for us. And they love the fact that things are getting done on time. And then also from a driver aspect, drivers don't want to drive around all day. They've got, 1,000 cases to deliver. They've got a certain amount of time to do it in. And the last thing they want to do is be bouncing around. So for us, it's not only the accounts, but also, driver retention and their happiness as well. Get in the accounts, get out of the accounts, get the job done, and go home. It's planning is paramount, and not driving around all day is not what we want to do.
You make a really good point. I think sometimes we forget we have both internal and external customers. Really important there.
Cindy, I'd like to bring up something on that as well, because I know Matt and I have had a lot of philosophical conversations about, say, order minimums and frequency, right? So I think that comes really big here, because you're going to cut miles if you start to change like order, minimums, and also the frequency you're serving your customer, right? Maybe we're over-serving, under-serving. So I don't know, Matt, if you want to kind of elaborate there a little bit as far as, I know you and I have had quite a few conversations around that and what you guys are looking to do or have it implemented. So
yeah, I mean, we've implemented case minimums. It's not super aggressive, but at a starting point at least to get customers comfortable with it. It's definitely helped cut down on miles and lower profit stops. But I think for the most part, John hit the nail on the head, right? Less time on the road for the drivers is more time face-to-face with the customers. Happier drivers lead to happier customers, really. I mean, that's really probably the most important face of our company is that driver to customer relationship.
Got it. Perfect. So if it's all right with everybody, let's go ahead into the third section of our conversation today. I'm always surprised how many inbound phone calls distributors get, and how do we cut down these calls through using visibility tools? Will, if it's okay to bring you to the forefront here, you've really seen before and after of running with and without visibility. What impact does it really have on the customer and driver calls, since people can now see their delivery status in real time?
It's been great for those customers that are really heavily engaged in wanting to actually know, where their product is and when it's going to get there, because now they have that visualization. But even more for us internally, rather than us calling that driver going, "Hey, how's your day going? Where, what time you look like you're going to be back?" We can actually see where they are in the progression of the day. And so we know, hey, based on what he's doing, he should be back here within the next hour, 30 minutes, those kind of things. So having that visibility is really just kind of taking a breath out of everybody, because now you don't have to worry about making those phone calls or even getting those phone calls.
Right. And do you get phone calls from internal groups as well about where's my truck? Or I like to call it Wizmo.
So we get a lot of it typically is more of, it's somebody that is used to something being there, standard time every single week. And so again, it's those ones that we have to kind of react to. But most of the time, if we see that, hey, there is a problem, or, a truck's had an issue, we can go ahead and start letting people know beforehand, hey, they're going to be about an hour or 2 hours late than what you originally anticipated.
Got it. Perfect. And Matt, what kind of calls have now dropped off once you've given both your customers and your sales teams better visibility? Did it free up your coordinators or dispatchers as well to focus on different areas?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it probably cut down more of those internal calls, right? A calls from a sales rep or a driver manager trying to figure out, where a driver is, where a stop is, when they might arrive at a certain account. So our driver management team, our sales team have that visibility now. So I mean, if they can see, they don't need to call us and ask. And it's just cut down on some of that, putting out fires type of duties that our coordinators would have to do. They can focus on the job at hand, right?
That's fantastic. And John, you do a lot of work directly with customer accounts. How do these proactive communication tools and visibility tools build stronger customer trust and reduce the noise that comes from constant check-in calls or Wizmo calls?
No, absolutely. Communication is paramount, especially in our business. Having over 3,500 accounts and everybody waiting on beer and waiting on things, communication is key, not only between sales and our accounts, but also delivery in our accounts, merchandisers in our accounts. So we've worked so hard with routing and Matt and all our different accounts to figure out when's the best time to service you, what's your dock times. On premise, everyone's got different hours. So for us, the routing, 90% of our routes are static. So the accounts know when we're going to be there, and we have set days for deliveries. So the best thing as a customer is to know my truck will be there guaranteed every Monday at 4 a.m. ready. My merchandiser will be there at 4:30 ready. So we don't get those phone calls all day. So for me, if I get a phone call, I'm like, what just happened? It shouldn't happen. So the nice thing is, with Descartes and the routing systems that we use and the planning that, Matt and their team have helped us with, we've moved things around and communicated with everyone, and things are good. So, the best thing is just over communication, make everything good.
So what I really heard there was you don't get 4 a.m. phone calls anymore.
Only if the world's falling apart.
Sorry. And Nick, is somebody who spends a lot of time with a lot of different distributors, how are distributors using visibility tools, not just to cut calls, but to actually strengthen their customer relationships?
Yeah. And, I think this has been a key topic here is the data, right? So data provides factual conversations for the retailers, right? So what I've seen quite a bit is that, hey, our merchandising activity isn't aligning up to the deliveries. They're a day late. They're 2 days late. I never saw a merchandiser inside this account. So for a lot of my beverage wholesalers, what we've done is built analytics reports that they can have those factual conversations with, say a Walmart of the world or a Target, right? So you're coming with leverage data so you can have that factual conversation. Because let's face it, a lot of times that we'll see that, your wholesaler that you're doing a hell of a job, they're getting confused with the Pepsi guy or the Coca-Cola guy, right? They just know that something in that aisle is not right and they want to blame everybody. So when you can come with leveraged factual data, that'll show them that, hey, we are actually doing a hell of a job for you. We're not messing up. So, hey, that end cap, that negotiated space, Why can't we get it today?
Got it. Got it. So our fourth key area that we really want to spend some time on today is full delivery optimization, on time, in full, and merchandising hours. So Matt, I'm going to come back to you right now. On time and in full is the absolute industry standard, right? What role does routing and analytics, as well as stop time data, play in helping your drivers hit that consistently while still cutting down on time inside the account?
Yeah, so stop time data has been key for us. It allows us to build routes to a planned day rather than in the past more kind of tribal knowledge or just, hey, route one, 7 stops, 800 cases sounds about right. Now we have the actual time that it takes to service each account. We know the time windows that that account can be serviced in. So, I mean, it's just been key for us, right? And it's not generic; it's specific to each account, right? Times you can't just say all 7-Elevens take an hour, right? One may take an hour and a half, one may take 45 minutes. So we've got the specific account data. We've got the time windows that make sure that our drivers are going to be there on time and have enough time to service each account every day.
Okay, great. I appreciate that. John, when merchandising hours are reduced, how do you make sure that customer still feels that same level of service and shelf level execution?
So, I mean, our merchandisers work a typical 40-hour-a-week shift. The difference is because of the tools we have in place, it's 40 productive hours. So they're not driving around trying to find out what's been dropped and where they should go. So if anything, we're able to tell the retailers, hey, our service times in your accounts have actually increased. So within that 40 hours, they're being more productive and they're in the accounts they need to be in. And if anything, we're able to also know where we need to send guys because we have how many cases these accounts are getting and is it going to be alcohol or NAs, which take more time. So if anything, because of our planning and the tools we have in place, we can put the merchandisers in the right accounts at the right times. So yeah, their hours are reduced, but it's because we're being more efficient with how we're using them. And the technology definitely helps do that.
Absolutely. Perfect. I love hearing that. And Will, how have different route optimization and execution tools help your teams complete more stops in less time while maintaining those high service standards?
Similar to what John and Matt have both touched on is now we actually have that data to show us what the times are so we can fully plan those days to better utilize these guys. Like John had said, your guys aren't having to drive around, aren't having to make those phone calls because that plan's already been in place because you can see it from beginning to end, all the nuts and bolts, and everybody's able to kind of be on the same page and line up throughout the day.
Great. Love to hear that. And then let's open this up to everybody. What lessons have you learned about balancing efficiency with customer satisfaction? We want to make, how do you make sure that push to optimize never comes at the cost of that customer relationship?
Well, I mean,
I can go ahead and
go ahead, Will.
appreciate it, John. So I can go ahead and jump on that one. Really, again, for us, we try and spin it to them, kind of like how John had mentioned previously that, now with previously you were on a stop with 12 or you were on a route with 12 other stops. So we weren't able to fully stay in here the time that we would like to because of the portfolio that you have. Now we can move you to a day with, less stops and we can spend better and longer time in that account in order to service you better and get you better throughput.
That sounds amazing. And John, what were you going to say there?
Yeah, I mean, with the proper routing and the planning, we've got a lot of C stores. We've got Wawa, Circle K's, 7-Elevens, and there's times where you really don't want to be blocking their coffee with stacks of beer. So we've planned our routes to be efficient where we get in, get it checked in, get it put away with a merchandiser or a delivery team. And the accounts appreciate the fact that we're efficient because we're getting in and getting it done. The last thing you want to do is be at a a restaurant during lunch or happy hour. So
Mhm.
everything planning and the efficiencies, it definitely goes into play with what we do.
Yeah, I mean, I can really see is more and more products are, going into especially C stores, right? That, one, shelf space is at a premium, but floor space is at a premium with just getting bodies in and out of the store when you're restocking. So it becomes critically important to them. So our fifth area is really about adopting technology and how you scale that technology. I think that everybody buys a lot of technology, but they sometimes don't plan for that implementation and scale. So, Will, you have rolled out several new tools across multiple states. What practical steps helped you scale adoption and keep both your drivers and salespeople engaged in the process?
So for the leadership, the biggest thing that we found was when we did our first actual rollout, we actually had the leadership from our other warehouses attend the initial rollout, because again, the best way to really get engagement is to have everybody there and want to see what they can get out of this. And so once we did the first initial one and they could actually see, hey, this is what they're able to go, everybody was kind of lining up to be able to jump on that wagon to say, hey, I need that data too, just as much as everybody else. And for the drivers and our sales, the biggest obstacle for them was everybody doesn't want to be watched or feel like they're being watched 24/7. So we really had to instill in them that that's not the purpose of it. Our purpose of it is to get the data. So when you say, hey, I've got a really long day, we can actually look and say, yes, you had a really long day. These accounts seem to be problems. Is there something we can do? Do these need to move? Or even more, we've had guys that, customers have said, hey, I've never seen your salesman in here. We can go back and say, yeah, he's been in here, the past 4 weeks at this time. And they go, oh, yeah, I'm not here during those times. I'm here an hour later. So then they can say, oh, well, we'll make sure we pass that along, and they can come an hour later to meet with you.
So the first key takeaway that I heard from this about adopting technology is get stakeholders involved early and let them see some of those early successes, number one. And then number two, you'll keep drivers and salespeople engaged if you're able to collect data that supports the conversations that they need to have with you.
Absolutely.
All right, Matt, how did you build confidence in the data so that drivers and managers rely on it on a daily basis rather than going back and reverting to that gut feeling?
Yeah, I mean, it's really just a matter of sharing the data with them, right? So we send out daily reports on, a driver's plan day, what the projected plan day is going to be by account, right? So, I mean, after sharing that with them for a while and they see the results of it, 90% of the time, it's within minutes per account for what the service time was. So, I mean, once they see how accurate it is, then, I mean, the buy-ins naturally can't really argue with it, right?
Yeah. So key takeaway number two here on adopting technology is share the information you're collecting and how you're using it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So John, Pepin is really known for their incredibly strong relationships inside retail. How have you introduced technology in a way that enhances rather than replacing that customer connection?
I mean, so I've been doing this 30 years, and technology to me is gold. Data is gold. And when you can walk into your accounts and show them all the data that you're producing, just like on service times and how long we're spending in the accounts. And there's also a lot of regional people that want to know different things about their chains. How long is it taking for you to deliver to our accounts? Are we having problem accounts with receiving? So data is gold for different accounts to have. And for me, the more data you have and the more you can show them what you're doing, that it just builds that customer trust. I can't tell you how many retailers have asked me if they could download my app to see where my driver is, or, hey, where's my salesman? Or, hey, I'm not going to call you anymore. I'm just going to check on the phone where they're at. And, of course, that's not where I want to go with it. But they love the data that we're collecting, and they love the technology that we use as well.
So key takeaway number three is that data really is your secret customer service weapon.
100%.
And sharing that data not only with your internal constituents, but your customer constituents really is critical.
Absolutely.
All right. And then Nick, when you look across every single one of your customers, what's the biggest long-term advantage of standardizing on one platform for routing and execution versus stitching together 2, 3, or even 4 different systems?
Yeah, I think it's just from my perspective, what I see, Cindy, is just the unification, right? When I start to look at data for analysis to, start to show proof of value of what Descartes can provide to a customer, I'll have the merchandising team with some formatted Excel spreadsheet, the sales team with some sort of spreadsheet, and then the delivery team with another, right? And then everybody's data doesn't flow together where you could look at it holistically for the most part. So once you get to, say, a Descartes type solution, there's that unification that, you've got factual data on an account from a merchandising activity to a sales activity to a delivery activity, that everybody from top leadership all the way down to ops management has that data in their hands, right? And then to John's point, to Matt's point, what do you do with that data? How do you leverage it? What changes do you make, right, to maybe your route planning, your execution level data that you need to fix? It's all there, consistent, versus managing fragmented data across the network of different business units.
Okay, great. So I am going to go ahead and look at the questions that we've had come in. I just lost my screen here. I apologize. Quite a few.
I think here's a good one I could ask here, Cindy, if that's okay.
Great. Thanks for your help, Nick.
You're very welcome. I didn't know if you got your notes up or not. So this goes to obviously the team here. Is anyone offering 48-hour service? And if so, how's that being managed operationally?
Yeah, we go ahead. We have 48 hours. For us, it's great because we're getting the orders 2 days ahead of time. So as far as planning goes, it's perfect for us. As far as looking at the orders, if we need to make adjustments, it's great. It also gives our warehouse an opportunity to make sure that we're loading all the trucks correctly. We're staging stuff. So from an internal aspect, I really love the fact that it gives us that time window to also communicate different things. We also deliver to venues and different things. So we're also making, quick hot shots as well. So that 48-hour window gives us a great opportunity to not only know how many trucks we need, we can route it out. It also gives the warehouse an opportunity to pull the product, stage the product, and get everything that we need to get done.
Great. Looking at some of the questions that have come in for online. So we have quite a few that have come in. When you guys create routes, do you set them by clusters, a particular area or zone, or do you change them depending on the different types of loads? And how do you decide what's the best way to build routes?
Yes, I mean, by clusters, if you mean like the driver is in a similar territory every day throughout the week, we definitely do that. We want the drivers and the customers to be familiar with each other. And as far as deciding how to build the best routes, I mean, now we're really relying a lot on the data that we've collected and the tools that we have, and letting the tools help us make the decisions on what the best route is. So we can run like multiple different scenarios. If you have a theoretical, for example, what if I took out 6 side loaders and added in a couple of end loaders, right? You could run a pass through that and see what the impact would be on your route structure.
So get accurate data, feed that into your route plan, but then don't be afraid to do some what if modeling based upon different types of equipment, different levels of drivers available, et cetera.
Different frequency services, right? Any number of things. Okay.
So we have talked a lot about data, and one of the questions here is, hey guys, it's garbage in, garbage out. Who's responsible for the data around delivery windows? That data changes constantly along with some of the other metrics that we're collecting. So who's managing all those massive pieces of data inside your organization?
So, I mean, I'll speak a little bit about it, but it's really a collaborative, team effort, because like you said, things are always changing. But, the key is when you're setting up something with this, like you said, good data in, good data out. So you constantly have to change and update. And we've got a great team here, and we've worked greatly with the carts to build that team. Matt Fannin has been, I mean, he's a god when it comes to figuring things out. Thank you, Matt. Love you. But it's such, you know, the sales team and the delivery team and also the retailers letting you know what works for them. So we're constantly changing routes. We're constantly changing the way things work. And the nice thing is, you know, the technology we have, we can make changes on the fly. You know, I'm constantly calling Eagle and saying, hey, let's move this stop to this day. Let's change this delivery time to this time. So even though it's 90% static, you're always making changes. And the nice thing is if you've got the technology to be able to do that on the fly, that's a great thing to have.
Yeah, I hear you there. The next question is, assuming route optimization tools save time and money and miles, or save time and miles, excuse me, how does that translate to a typical workday for your drivers? Are they working 4 10-hour days a week in a typical week, or a different type of scenario there?
So for us, we have our on-premise drivers work 4 10s and our off-premise work 5 8s. And what the optimization tool allows us to do is, I mean, we build to that planned hours, right? We know we're going to build an 8-hour day for an off-premise driver. If we start to see that number trickle down to say like a 6-hour average or a 7-hour average, or we see it trickle up, that's a flag for us to take a look at our route structure as a whole, see if we have an opportunity to cut routes, or if we need to consider adding routes back into the system.
Got it. Makes sense. We had a real specific question come in here about how do you deal with route minimums? You know, customers will call up and say, I see your truck next door, you know, every 5 days. Why can't you deliver 5 cases to me? How do you deal with that? And how do you justify kind of saying, hey, we've got minimums?
I mean, I could touch upon that a little bit. So we have over 3,500 accounts. And if you can imagine everyone saying, well, it's right next to this account, you'd have 3,500 deliveries. So for us, it's basically, we look at location, but we also look as far as, you know, the amount of deliveries we have per day per route. And that's where that 48 planning comes into, where we can say, okay, this warrants that delivery. They're a big account for us. We also have a lot of accounts that are near college campuses where they may blow out of something and they need 400 cases the next day. So for us, you really have to look at it as a case-by-case scenario. And we've looked at minimums as far as dollar amounts. We've looked at minimums as far as case amount. But what you really have to do is look at what's best for the business and what's best for, you know, the company. And we're always trying to hit volume goals. But, you know, at the same time, we are very, very customer-driven and service-driven. So we never want to turn away deliveries. But at the same time, you're looking at logistically how many hours per day can you do it, and do you have the space on the trucks to do it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's kind of what we look at.
And Nick, what kind of communication tools bridge the gap when we're talking about visibility and talking with customers and salespeople?
Yeah, so we have 2 different levels, Cindy, from Descartes that we provide to our customers, right? So we have one that I would say is customer facing. That's almost, you know, is what's expected, right? So we're in the times now that everybody wants information in real time, which, you know, from Descartes we do provide. But then also from, say, the operator standpoint, so like Matt, John, Will, and their team, you know, they've got an internal dashboard that's really able to give them key indicators on the fly to know what's happening from a route perspective, either early, late, on times, to really understand the operations, so they can either report back to the warehouse, sales, merchandising, just how the day's flowing, right? So, you know, 2 different levels. It's just a matter of, you know, where you're at for what's needed. But, you know, I think that, you know, from an end-to-end perspective, we have that from a Descartes perspective.
Okay. And John, we have a question specifically addressed to you. Do your drivers pull the product out, or just only merchandisers?
Do our drivers pull the product out?
Or work the product in the account, I should say. It's more.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So we have bulk drivers where we've done a lot of different changes within our delivery department. So now our bulk team, their last delivery, if it's a C store, they will work that product. So our delivery team does work product, and we also have a merchandising team that hits the bigger, large format accounts, and they work those things. So literally every driver will work product, whether it's their last stop or depending on the account as well. So again, we're talking about efficiencies where, you know, it makes sense to have the last account be worked by our delivery team or our bulk team, and we account for that within their hours to where, you know, we're trying to utilize everyone as much as possible within that work week.
Okay, that makes sense. And get as much efficiency as you can, right?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Um, your the approach to delivery, is it more end loaders with pallet drops or carts?
So we've added end loaders. We found that, you know, you're able to put more product on the end loaders. Our end loaders have a team of 2 people working it. So typically they will hit our larger accounts. We'll get more volume out. We're also having the end loaders do large format accounts. So their first stop may be a Publix or a Target. It's a quick drop for them, and then they move on to the C store. So for us, we have incorporated a lot more bulk, a lot more end loader, and of course we still have our side loaders. But we've done a lot of changes as far as how we look at how we make deliveries and getting the most product off within a certain amount of time, but also not killing our guys and being efficient. And the customers like the fact that we're doing pallet drops and making it a quick stop as well.
Yeah. You know, there's a question here that I love that I think is so important. How critical is retention, or how do you increase your retention rate to get employees to stay long enough to get really good at what they do? You know, how have you guys actually improved retention? What, maybe a strategy or two out there?
Well, I mean, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I'd just say for us, I mean, as far as driver retention goes, well, I mean, I can't necessarily take credit for my team for it, but one thing the company does really well is they do a quarterly input meeting where drivers speak to C-level management and give feedback on, you know, things that they feel like could improve. And then that information comes back to us, and we can have conversations with drivers and either, you know, act on those improvements or explain to them why it's not feasible. It's something the employees really like. Other than that, you know, we track out driver hours daily, and, you know, like a hawk. So if drivers are getting, you know, start to work too much, we're going to make a change. So we really do care about the drivers and try to keep them at a fair work day.
Got it. And we've got time for one more question. There's several more
Hey,
questions.
Cindy, can you go to the golf slide, please, just to put up on screen?
Yeah.
Yep.
We've got several more questions. We're gonna end on our last question real quick. We will get these other questions out and answered for everybody. But here's the last question of the day. Oh, I just lost it. Sorry. What challenges have you experienced with your sales team and customers when sharing visibility of your delivery vehicles?
What challenges? I mean, one of the challenges that we have is, will the truck fit in the parking lot? that's you know, some accounts we'd love to do on an end loader and do a pallet drop, but it's tight space, we can't get into it. That's one of the challenges. We've also got some challenges with like on premise where we deliver down to Tampa. Sometimes it's hard to get into certain accounts and certain what have you. So there are logistical challenges for us as far as, we'd love to send a bulk truck out there, but it won't fit, or we'd love to send an end loader, but it won't fit. So those are some of the things that we face.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for your time today. I'm going to hand it over to Nick real quick because I think he's got a special invitation for folks here.
Yeah, so I just wanted to let everybody know that we do have some availability for a golf outing during NBWA. I don't know if anybody's going to be out early on a Saturday for NBWA convention this year, but if you scan this QR code, we do have some spots available. It'll be on a first come, first served basis. Great thing about that is these 3 folks here, amazing, Matt, John, will also be golfing. So if you did ask some questions, they did get answered.
If you
maybe
call it that.
around a beer while you're golfing, might be a fun time to get those answered where it's in a very relaxed environment, just, understanding what they're doing as well, right? So please, if you do have the time, we'd love to see you out there.
So please step up and scan the QR code there. And last, I'm going to hand this back to Patty to close us out for the day.
Great. Thanks, Cindy. And thank you all for being a part of this. First, I'd say Matt, John, and Will, thank you for taking time out of your day. I know you all are busy. And then Nick and Cindy, thank you for leading such a great discussion. And thank you for Descartes' continued sponsorship and support of MBWA. Just one follow-up to the questions. If you didn't get your question answered or you think of something else, you can feel free to send it to nbwa.org. And we'll make sure to get the team that question and see if we can't get an answer for you. And then last but certainly not least, I hope to see all of you in Las Vegas. So thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.